Hi everyone, my name's Nick Hopwood. I'm doing this video to explain a little bit about what I mean by flipped learning and how I'm incorporating some assumptions about flipped learning into the subjects I'm teaching here at UTS. And this is for me very much inspired by the UTS Learning 2014 initiative. First of all, I'd like to give you a bit of a disclaimer. I don't claim in any way to be giving a correct or full explanation of what flipped learning is. That's not what this video is about. I've got a few simple points to make, and I hope it will be useful. Please feel free on this YouTube aspect to add comments if you think you have a different view. So why am I interested in flipped learning? Not because it's the thing to do and it's trendy, but because I've been convinced that it's an idea worthy of my attention and some serious work to try it out in practice. Why? Because I think it can make students' learning experiences better and fairer too, actually. For me, flipped learning is all about changing what we can do in class and when we interact online, and to make these precious moments together even more valuable. I might say that the term flipped learning could be a bit misleading if you think that it implies all the learning has been completely flipped and it all happens before class. Far from it. Is flipped learning any different from set readings before class, something many people have been doing for decades and I've been doing for a few years whilst I've been teaching in universities? I think flipped learning is different from just having set readings. Rather than be cynical and saying this has been going on for ages, I'm interested to see how I can take these ideas to change things for the better. For me, this has been thinking about and thinking hard about why I ask students to do things before class, to read text, watch videos, listen to podcasts, find examples from their own area of expertise or interest, whatever it might be. So flipped learning for me involves giving close guidance to help students understand what the pre-class activities are for and why you're being asked to do them. This means doing more than specifying a set text or sections of it to read, but saying why you might be looking at it, what you might be looking for, what notes you might take, and what will happen in class that relates to it. I like setting flipped activities, things you do before class, because they give you a chance to work more at your own pace and to explore things of particular interest to you. So it may be that one aspect of something you want to look at a little bit more in detail than others you find quite easy and want to skip over. And doing it before class enables you to do that, I think. The flip side of flipped learning, at least for me, is this. Not doing the activities before class is a deal breaker. All the merits individually, for me, for you as learners, and collectively as a group, as a class, break down if a few people try to ride off the coattails of others who've done the work. I.e., if students think everybody else will have done it so I don't need to, or I've been too busy to do it this week. So I think it is fair game to expect to see evidence of engagement with flipped content when you come to class, and for all students to be ready to comment on it. This can be saying something you've learned, or identifying something that wasn't so easy to understand, which leads me to my next point. But just to be clear, being in class, at least as far as I'm concerned, means having done the flipped learning part of the work. Doesn't mean you necessarily learnt everything. It does mean you've given the content, or whatever we've asked you to look at, some serious thought and some time. Flipped learning is not about saying you've got to have learned everything before class. Far from it. You're not expected to understand everything you read, hear on a podcast, or encounter on a video. You are expected to spend some time thinking about it, and to come to class ready to share your comments, thoughts and questions. What flipped learning activities do is give us a different kind of starting point for class. Not one where I assume everybody knows the same because we've all heard the same podcast, but one where I assume we can get straight into discussions and start benefiting from our shared experience and strengths because we've all engaged with material in some way. All those engagements will be different depending on who you are, what your past experience is, what your current interests are. That's fine. That's the point. It's not about creating an absolutely even starting point. I think that would be impossible. But it is about changing the starting point and being able to assume that you've actually thought about some ideas. It may have been encountered the idea and you come and you say, I found it really hard. That to me is different from starting a class where you haven't even thought about the idea at all. So what you'll get is a lot less of me talking in class and much more opportunities for group work and discussion and practical hands-on activities. This is not about setting your learning in advance and then testing your knowledge in class, but exploring and exploiting the fact that we all have different starting points in each class. Each of these starting points comes out of you engaging with some key ideas before we meet together in class. So why am I wearing a Superman t-shirt? This is to make a point about two things which I think flipped learning is not about. Firstly, flipped learning is not about me being, or any other tutor, the star of the show. I don't necessarily have all the answers, and I'm certainly not going to be running classes where you spend a lot of time sitting and listening to me give a pre-prepared lecture with PowerPoints. There's no Superman tutor with me. You won't be seeing me wearing this in class. Second, it's not about students suddenly becoming super students who can do all their learning on their own at home before class. The flip part is only the start of the learning process, as I understand it, not the end. So it's totally expected that some bits that you may encounter before class may not make much sense or be harder than others. That's fine. That's part of what the flipped learning is to learn what is easier for you, what is harder, what you're finding important, what you'd like to know more about. So we can tailor the classes to help you respond to those things that you've learnt from your encounters or engagement with the content earlier. What it does mean is we can have a very different experience in class because you've engaged with that content. It doesn't mean we start class assuming everybody's learnt everything that was read. So there you go. There's lots I've said in a short time, and there's a lot that I haven't said. But hopefully this helps you make sense of the flipped learning elements in the subjects I'll be working on with you. Other tutors might understand and practice flipped learning very differently. I expect I'll be learning a thing or two about how to make it work most effectively as I go on, and I may be changing what I say on a video like this time next year. But this is where I'm starting from for now, and I'm really excited to be trying out these new ideas as part of UCS's Learning 2014. See you in class. Bye-bye.